Hello sports fans, it is Tuesday, October the 21st, the year 2014, and as always, a lot to get to in the sports world, so let's get it going right now. Great to be back with you guys. NFL picks for week number 8 and college football picks for week number 9 coming up shortly. Let's quickly touch on the Monday Night Football game from last night, where the Pittsburgh Steelers at home beat the Houston Texans 30-23. Pittsburgh up to 4-3, Houston down to 3-4. This was just a bizarre game. I mean, just a bizarre game. Houston is up 13-0 in the second quarter of this game. They're dominating the game. Pittsburgh looks lost on both sides of the ball. The crowd's booing them. The Steelers can't move the ball from here to there. They're not getting any pass rush. And in a 3-minute stretch, this game completely flipped. It went from 13-0 Houston to 24-13 Pittsburgh in a 3-minute stretch. I mean, just an unbelievable set of circumstances. The Steelers are down 13-0. They have a 3rd and 15 deep in their own territory. Houston stops them, but Watt goes off sides. That gives the Steelers another 3rd down. From there, the Steelers hit a nice play to their running back. He goes up the sidelines. That gets the Steelers going. They get a field goal on that drive, makes it 13-3. They get the ball back. They hit a bomb for a touchdown. That makes it 13-10. Then Foster fumbles for Houston inside his 5. The Steelers score again, make it 17-13. Then with about a minute left and a half, Fitzpatrick throws this awful pass over the middle. Kiesel picks it off, runs it back to like the Houston 10. Steelers score again from there, go up 24-13 at the half. In a 3-minute stretch, it went from 13-0 Houston to 24-13 Pittsburgh. Second half, Pittsburgh is winning 30-16. Houston scores a late touchdown to cut it to 30-23. Houston tries the onside kick, had a good shot at it. Ball was rolling around for a while. Steelers do fall on it. They're able to run out the clock. So a very, very strange game last night. As far as Houston, listen, Fitzpatrick is not the answer. They need a better quarterback. He is a backup at best. I don't trust him in a big spot. I'd also like to see Clowney on the field. I'd like to see him with Watt, how they play together. I'd like to see if Clowney is going to develop into a very good player. He's got all sorts of ability. I'd like to see him get on the field. So Houston, even though they're improved from last year, they still have a lot of work to do. Pittsburgh had to have this win. Now, they're very inconsistent. I still don't trust them, but they had to have this win. If they dropped this game, they had no possibilities of making the playoffs in my estimation. So Pittsburgh gets the win. They win the game 30-23. Like I said, this game completely flipped in a 3-minute stretch. 13-0 Houston to 24-13 Pittsburgh in 3 minutes. That's why we watch the NFL. Anyway, without further ado, let's get to our NFL picks for week number 8. Remember, San Francisco and the Giants both have the week off, and those two teams both need it. San Francisco, after their dreadful performance against Denver, needs a week off, needs to get some healthy bodies, and the Giants have all sorts of work to do also. So those two teams have the week off. Let's go to the Thursday game. It is a real good one. The Denver Broncos at home, -7.5 against the San Diego Chargers. This is a tremendous game. Denver looked awesome on Sunday night against San Francisco. San Diego coming off the tough loss at home to Kansas City. This is a big game to see who's going to go on and win this division. I am going to take San Diego here with the 7.5, and it's always dangerous going against Denver. They score a lot of points. I mean, they could pour it on. The game could get out of hand in a hurry. It's always dangerous going against Denver and Peyton Manning, especially in the regular season. I'm going to take San Diego. Here's why. San Diego always plays Peyton Manning well. Whether it was Peyton Manning on the Colts or Peyton Manning now with Denver, San Diego and Phillip Rivers always seem to play them well. The games always seem to be close. I think last year San Diego beat them one time. I think San Diego is going to hang in this game. I think it's a very close game. I don't know if the Chargers can actually win it, but I think they could definitely hang in there. The spread's 7.5. That's pretty high considering San Diego's had a nice year. I'm going to take San Diego. They have a history of playing Peyton Manning well, going back to when he was on the Colts, even when he's been on the Broncos. So I think San Diego can hang in this game. Now, it's dangerous going against Denver. So I don't feel all that confident. I mean, you could get burned at any time. Denver could put up 49 on you any week. But I'm going to take San Diego here with their history against Manning. I'm going to take the Chargers plus 7.5 in a must-watch football game. Should be tremendous on Thursday night. Let's go to the Sunday games. Let's start with the London game, and you know how I feel about these London games. I don't like them at all. I don't understand the NFL's fascination with putting a team in London. Let's get a team in LA first before we start worrying about putting a team in London. I don't get the whole thing. The Detroit Lions are -3.5 against the Atlanta Falcons. We don't know if Calvin Johnson is playing. He's going to make the trip. Who knows if he plays? If he does play, how well is he going to play? Reggie Bush looks like he's going to play. Atlanta is a complete disaster this year. They're a soft team. They can't win away from home. Now they're struggling to play at home as well. They have no defense. Now their offense is struggling. I have to take Detroit here. Detroit is one of the better defensive teams in the league. Atlanta is one of the worst defensive teams in the league. I got to go with Detroit. Detroit's 5-2. Atlanta's 2-5. The spread's only 3.5. I will take Detroit. Yeah, I hope Johnson plays. I can't take Atlanta. Atlanta has shown me nothing the last few weeks. I have no confidence in them. I will take Detroit -3.5 against the Falcons in London. Let's go down to Tampa Bay. Here's a doozer of a game. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are -3.5 against the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, you talk about just a mess of a game. Minnesota had the heartbreaking loss last week at Buffalo. Bridgewater looks like he has some ability. We'll see if he develops. Tampa Bay just got blasted a couple weeks ago by Baltimore at home. They have the goal to make Tampa Bay a 3.5-point favorite here. Now, we know Minnesota's a bad team. We know that. But Tampa Bay looked just dreadful a couple weeks ago. I mean, how does Tampa Bay 3.5 over anyone? On general principle, I have to take the Vikings here. I'll take the Vikings plus 3.5. I don't know who's going to win this game. To me, this is a just messy, messy game. To me, you know what would be fitting in this game? If it rained in Tampa and these two teams were, duking it out in the mud down there. That's what I see for this game, like a rainy, muddy, sloppy, like 13-10 mess of a game between these two teams. I could see the game going either way. I can't take Tampa Bay and give 3.5. On general principle, I will take Minnesota. I don't think Tampa Bay deserves to be favored by that much over anyone, so I'll take the Vikings. Not that I have much confidence in them. I say the game's 13-10 somebody. I'll take Minnesota plus 3.5 in a awful football game. Let's go up to New England, where the New England Patriots are -6.5 against the Chicago Bears. New England, of course, has been back to their winning ways the last few weeks. They did not play well against the Jets, but did get the win. Chicago has looked awful the last few weeks. They got drubbed at home by Miami. Fans are booing them. They're calling out Cutler. I mean, the defense we know is a mess. The special teams are even worse. I got to take New England here. I just have to. I can't trust Chicago on the road. I don't like their special teams. Their defense is awful. Cutler hasn't been playing well. I mean, they only put up 14 points against Miami at home. You know New England's going to get their points here. I mean, Chicago can't stop anyone. I got to take New England here. I mean, I have to take New England. I can't take Chicago at all. I mean, they've showed me absolutely nothing. I will take New England -6.5 against Chicago up in New England. Let's go to Kansas City, where the Kansas City Chiefs are -6.5 against the St. Louis Rams. This is the battle for Missouri. It's a very interesting game. These are two teams that their record won't indicate it, but they've been playing pretty decently. Kansas City, I think, is a good 3-3 team. Had a nice win last week at San Diego. They've played a very tough schedule. St. Louis has been battling the last few weeks as well. They beat Seattle. They hung in there against San Francisco. Very, very interesting game. Now, being the game is in Arrowhead, I love those fans in Kansas City, and I still have the memories of that Monday night game where Kansas City just laid it on New England. I mean, I don't think it's going to be that much of a blowout, but I'm going to take the Chiefs here. I know the spread's a little high. The Rams have been hanging in the games, but I think the Chiefs win this game by about 7 points. So I'm going to take Kansas City at home, -6.5 against St. Louis. I'm going to go with them because I love Arrowhead. The Chiefs play very well there, so I'm going to take the Chiefs, -6.5 against the Rams. Let's go out to Carolina, where the Seattle Seahawks are -4.5 against the Carolina Panthers. Carolina, believe it or not, despite their struggles, is in first place, and Seattle is in third place. They are 3-3 and having a major Super Bowl hangover. Now, I don't like the way Seattle's been playing at all, but if they're going to play well, it's got to be here in Carolina. Carolina has a bad defense. They can't stop anyone. Their defense was good last year. It's been bad this year. I don't like Carolina's defense at all. So I think Seattle's going to be able to put up some points, and I expect Seattle's defense to come to play this week. Seattle has to respond. They have to respond now. They've lost 2 in a row. They're digging themselves a hole in the NFC. They're 2 games behind Arizona already. They're behind San Francisco. I mean, they're behind a lot of other teams in the NFC. They're digging a hole. It's early. They have time to pull it out. I believe in Seattle. I think they're a very good team, obviously. I think they're just better than Carolina. Listen, I never like giving up points, especially on the road, but I am not a believer in Carolina. I know they're in first place. They give up way too many points for me. I just don't trust them. They got bombed in Green Bay last week. I think Seattle is going to rebound here, get back to their winning ways, and they are going to beat Carolina. I like Seattle -4.5 against the Carolina Panthers. Let's go to the Meadowlands in New Jersey, not too far from here, where the New York Jets are -3.5 against the Buffalo Bills. Here's another doozer of a game. I mean, Buffalo now lost both of their running backs, so they're down to their third-string quarterback. We know Orton is going to quarterback this week. I'm not in love with him. Buffalo can do some things on defense. We know the Jets are a mess. They've lost, a million games in a row. They did play well in New England, but still lost. You never can trust Geno Smith. You never know when he's going to fire 3 interceptions. To me, this is a field goal game. This is another one of those white-knuckler, just messy, sloppy, 16-13 games, more defensive-orientated. I think that is going to be the story of this game. More defense, very low scoring. I'll take Buffalo with the 3.5. This game could go either way. I could definitely see the Jets winning this game. But the Jets have lost 6 in a row. I don't trust them all that much. And as much as I don't love Kyle Orton, the Bills do, have a better record than the Jets. So I will take the Bills here reluctantly. Don't love the game. Think it's a messy game, but I'll take the Bills plus 3.5. That's another game. The Jets, on general principle, probably shouldn't be favored by over anyone by 3.5 points. So I'll take Buffalo in that game. Let's go down to Jacksonville, where the Miami Dolphins are -5 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville finally got their first win last week. Miami had the big road win in Chicago last week. Listen, I know Jacksonville's playing better. I know they've been in the games the last few weeks, but I liked what I saw from Miami last week. They went on the road in Chicago, and they just stomped on the Bears. I mean, they just stomped on them. So I like what I saw from Miami. I think Miami has more talent than Jacksonville, so I think Miami is going to beat Jacksonville. There'll be a lot of Dolphin fans up there in Jacksonville, so I like Miami here. I'm not saying it's a blowout. I think Miami wins by about 7 points. I like Miami -5 in Jacksonville. Let's go down to Tennessee, where the Houston Texans are -2 against the Tennessee Titans. Who knows if Locker plays in this game? You might have Whitehurst at quarterback again. Tennessee is not a very good team. Houston, after their fair start, they're falling back. This is another messy, ugly, very ugly game. I mean, I'm going to take Houston here with that defense, with Watt making some plays. I'm going to assume Locker doesn't play in this game, and it's Whitehurst. I think Watt will be all over him. I think Houston's defense will carry the day, maybe to get their running game going. I don't love this game, but I will take Houston. I just don't trust Tennessee, especially if Locker doesn't play, so I'll take Houston -2 down there in Nashville. Let's go to Cincinnati. Very big game here. The Cincinnati Bengals are -3.5 against the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore very hot. Cincinnati is not. We'll see if A.J. Green plays. They need him in the worst way, the Bengals do. I mean, the Bengals have been struggling so much the last 3 weeks. Bengals looked awesome the first few weeks of the season. Now they look terrible. To me, the wrong team is favored here. The Bengals are 3.5-point favorites. Why? They've been playing lousy. Baltimore's been playing very good football. I know the game is in Cincinnati. Cincinnati very rarely loses there. I think the wrong team is favored here. Baltimore's just playing better right now. We still don't know about A.J. Green. I mean, even if he plays, how well is he going to play? I don't trust the Bengals right now. I mean, they were shut out last week. Shut out. No points. That's hard to do in the NFL. I'll take Baltimore here, +3.5 at Cincinnati in a very important division game. Let's go out to the desert, where the Arizona Cardinals are -3.5 against the Philadelphia Eagles. Very, very nice game. This is another must-watch game. Two very good teams. Arizona leading their division. Philadelphia tied with Dallas for their division. So two really, really good teams here going at it. To me, I'll take Philadelphia. I think this is a 3-point game between two very good teams. I think it could go either way, so I'll grab Philadelphia +3.5. It's a very, very nice game. Make sure you check this game out. One of the must-watch games over the weekend. Like I said, could go either way. 3-point game. I'll take Philly plus 3.5 at Arizona. Let's go to Pittsburgh with the Indianapolis Colts on minus 2.5 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Indianapolis on absolute fire. They've won 5 in a row. Look really good doing it. We'll keep an eye on Reggie Wayne. He has an injury, may not play. Pittsburgh had a big win last night after they were sleepwalking early in the game. They had that big 24-point outburst in a 3-minute span. That put them over the top last night. I still don't trust Pittsburgh. I still don't think they're all that good. They have a ton of injuries on defense. Their offense can be spotty at times. I mean, so I don't trust them. I love what the Colts are doing. I trust Luck. I think the Colts are one of the better teams in the AFC. I know the game's in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is a handful at home. I just don't trust them. They're inconsistent. They play one good game and one bad game. They played well at Carolina, then they lost to Tampa Bay. I mean, that's the way they are. They're up, they're down. To me, they're like a 500 team. That's what they've been the last few years. I will take Indianapolis minus 2.5 at Pittsburgh. Let's go to Cleveland, the dog pound, where the Cleveland Browns are minus 7 against the Oakland Raiders. Cleveland laid an absolute egg in Jacksonville last week. They were awful. Hoyer was awful. We know Oakland, they got all sorts of problems, haven't won a game yet. Listen, Cleveland has to respond here. You just lost to Jacksonville. You can't lose at home to Oakland. I'll tell you what, Hoyer has to play well here. He doesn't play well here after playing awful in Jacksonville. They're going to be calling for Johnny Manziel. You can hear it already. I think Cleveland will respond. They're home. I think they'll play better at home. Oakland, I don't trust them at all, no matter where they play, especially on the road. I mean, so Oakland doesn't usually score a lot of points. I think Cleveland can handle this bad Oakland team in the dog pound. I like Cleveland minus 7 against Oakland. Let's go to New Orleans, the Superdome, where the Saints are minus 2 against the Green Bay Packers. Once again, to me, the wrong team is favored here. Why are the Saints favored over anyone? Green Bay has been playing very good football. They've won, 4 in a row? Their offense is clicking. They look really good. What have the Saints done? The Saints can't get out of their own way. Blew a 13-point lead to Detroit without Johnson in the last couple of minutes of that game last week. The Saints haven't looked good at all this year. I don't think the Saints have played well in any game this year, including the games they've won. I don't trust the Saints at all. I think Green Bay is better than New Orleans. I think the wrong team is favored here. I will take Green Bay plus 2 against New Orleans down in the Superdome. And the Monday night game, the Dallas Cowboys at home, minus 9 against the Washington Redskins. McCoy is quarterbacking Washington. That's how bad it's gotten in Washington. RG3 not ready yet. He's still hurt. Cousins has been awful. He's been benched. They're going with McCoy. Do you really trust McCoy on the road against Dallas, who's probably one of the better teams in the NFL right now? I don't. I love what I see from Dallas. Good offensive line. The running back's been playing great. Romo's been playing good. So is Bryant. The defense is swarming all over the field. You trust Washington on the road with Colt McCoy? I don't. I know it's a big rivalry. I know it's 9 points. I'll give it. Dallas wins by double digits on Monday night. I like the Cowboys minus 9 against the Skins. So that is your NFL picks for week number 8. Some really, really nice games in the NFL. I mean, you got, who do you got here that I would say is a must-watch game? I would say Cincinnati and Baltimore is a must-watch game. Arizona, Philly is a must-watch game. The San Diego-Denver game is a must-watch game. I mean, and there's a couple intriguing games as well, like Seattle, Carolina. So a lot of good games in the NFL this week. All right, without further ado, let's get to our college football picks for week number 9. Not a great week in college football this week. There's a couple decent games, a couple games to keep an eye on, but it's not a great week in college football. Let's start down in Auburn, Alabama, where the Auburn Tigers are minus 17 against the South Carolina Gamecocks. Auburn is 5-1. They lost to Mississippi State. Auburn's still right there for the SEC title, still right there for the Final Four playoff. They got to win out. South Carolina are a very disappointing 4-3. They lost to A&M. I mean, they lost to Kentucky. I mean, they lost to Missouri. South Carolina's lost to a bunch of teams this year. The only team they beat of any note was Georgia. I don't know how that happened. South Carolina happens to have Georgia's number, especially in South Carolina. This is not a good South Carolina team. They're going into Auburn, one of the toughest places to play in all of college football. I think Auburn will roll in this game. South Carolina gives up a lot of points. Auburn will score at will in this game. They will blow out South Carolina, much the way Auburn blew out LSU earlier in the year. I like Auburn to roll over South Carolina. Auburn minus 17 against the Gamecocks. Let's go down to Kentucky, where number 1 ranked Mississippi State is -13 against University of Kentucky. Mississippi State is 6-0. Kentucky is 5-2, but they are now getting to the meat of their schedule. They were just bombed by LSU last week. Listen, Mississippi State to me is the most impressive team in the country on both sides of the ball. And Kentucky just lost to LSU, what was it, 41-3? I mean, and Mississippi State is better than LSU. I know the game's in Kentucky. It won't matter. Mississippi should take care of business here. They will cover the 13. They will beat a mediocre but improving Kentucky team. Mississippi State, too much on both sides of the ball. They beat Kentucky. They cover the 13. Mississippi State, -13 against UK down in Kentucky. Let's go to TCU, where the TCU Horned Frogs are -20.5 against the Texas Tech Red Raiders. TCU 5-1. Lost to Baylor, of course, in that heartbreaking game. Bounced back nicely and blew out Oklahoma State last week. Texas Tech is 3-4. They're not a very good team. I think this game is made to order for TCU. They're going to score a billion points. This is the type of game TCU puts up 56. TCU should roll in this game. Game should be over by the half. TCU bombs Texas Tech. I like TCU -20.5 against Texas Tech. Let's go to East Lansing, Michigan, where Michigan State is -16 against their arch rival, Michigan Wolverines. Michigan State is 6-1, only lost to Oregon. Michigan State still alive for the Big Ten title. Still have a chance to get to that Final Four. Michigan, a very disappointing 3-4. All sorts of issues with Michigan. Is the coach going to stay? Is the athletic director going to stay? All sorts of problems for Michigan. Michigan lost at Notre Dame this year 31-0. To me, Michigan State is at least as good as Notre Dame. I think Michigan State is going to have their way in this game. I think they are going to blow Michigan off the field. This could be a shutout. I see this game being like a 38-0 game. I think Michigan State dominates this game from start to finish. Michigan can't hang with this type of team. They can beat the mediocres and the weaklings. They can't hang with anyone good. It's going to be all Michigan State and East Lansing. Michigan State -16 against the Michigan Wolverines. Let's go to Death Valley, LSU. This is where College Game Day is. This is probably the best game of the weekend. The number 3 ranked Ole Miss Rebels are -3.5 against the LSU Tigers. Ole Miss 7-0. They're right there as far as one of the best teams in college football. To me, they're probably the most complete team next to Mississippi State. LSU, listen, they're 6-2. This is not a vintage LSU team. They got blown out of Auburn, lost at home to Mississippi State. But they are at home in Tiger Stadium. They are playing at night. LSU very rarely loses at night at home. This is a very dangerous game for Ole Miss. LSU looked really good last week at home against Kentucky, blew Kentucky out. LSU may be starting to turn the corner, have a lot of young talent. Very dangerous game for Ole Miss. I would not rule out an upset. I am taking LSU with the 3.5 points here, just out of respect for Tiger Stadium, those great fans down there. I mean, a night game at Tiger Stadium, very impossible spot to play in. I think Ole Miss definitely has a chance to win. I think it's a 3-point game either way, but out of respect for Tiger Stadium, you very rarely see LSU underdog at home. Very rarely see that. I'm taking LSU plus 3.5 against Ole Miss. Possible upset here. Don't be shocked if LSU pulls an upset. The crowd will be in a frenzy down there. That place is a madhouse. By the way, you ever get down to Baton Rouge, get down to an LSU game. You won't regret it. Some of the best tailgating, some of the best stuff ever if you love college football. It is a must thing to do. Put it on your bucket list. Get down to Tiger Stadium. In this game, I like LSU plus 3.5. Possible upset. All right, let's go to Marshall. You know I pick Marshall every week. Marshall at home, -27 against Florida Atlantic. Marshall is 7-0. Florida Atlantic is 3-4. Marshall has been over 40 points in all 7 games they've played this year. I picked them just about every week. I think I've won with them just about every week with the exception of maybe 1 week. So I always pick Marshall. They always cover for me. I'm going to pick them here. I know it's 27 points, but Marshall is home. They're going to score 50+ in this game. Florida Atlantic is not a good team. They are not a good team. Marshall will have no trouble in this game. They will score a billion points. I like Marshall to continue to roll. I think Marshall goes undefeated. They blow out Florida Atlantic. All right, let's go to Manhattan, Kansas, where Kansas State is -10 against Texas. Of course, Kansas State is 5-1. They had the heartbreaking loss to Auburn at home early in the year, but had the great win last week at Oklahoma. Kansas State alive for the Big 12 title, and don't rule them out of the Final Four. If they somehow run the table, which I don't think they'll do, they have a tough schedule. If they do, they could be alive for that Final Four. Texas 3-4, we know they're not that good. They're just not that good this year. They have a lot of work to do. We'll see if Strong, the new coach, can get some athletes down there, get a good quarterback down there. I mean, we'll see how Texas develops. Give them some time. Give the coach new time. They're just not ready right now. And Kansas State is just a better football team right now than Texas. Kansas State wins this game. They win it comfortably. They win by about 17 points. I like Kansas State to win like 34-17, cover the 10. I like Kansas State to beat Texas in Manhattan. So I like Kansas State minus 10 in that game. And the last game of the day, big rivalry game. The Alabama Crimson Tide are minus 17.5 against the Tennessee Volunteers at Tennessee. Alabama 6-1. Lost a heartbreaker to Ole Miss, bounced back in a big way last week. They blew out Texas A&M 59-0, looked good doing it. Tennessee is 3-4. Listen, we know they have a lot of work to do. You know, they're mediocre right now at best. Believe it or not, I'm going to take Tennessee in this game. Now, I don't think they can win, but this game is traditionally close, especially when they play at Neyland Stadium in Tennessee. This is Tennessee's big game of the year. Alabama may be looking past this game. Remember, Alabama lost to Ole Miss, then they had the tough game against Arkansas, then they blew out Texas A&M, and next week they go to LSU. Maybe they're looking past this game a little bit. Maybe they're like, Tennessee's not any good. We just blew out Texas A&M. We're just going to blow out Tennessee. This is Tennessee's big game on their schedule, and Neyland Stadium is a snake pit. It's a great environment for the home team. All those fans decked out in orange, and this game traditionally is close. I've seen big-time Alabama teams struggle against mediocre Tennessee teams in this rivalry, and they have a lot of history. This rivalry goes back a long, long time. Last time Alabama was on the road, a couple weeks ago, they barely beat Arkansas 14-13. Keep that in mind. Alabama hasn't been too good on the road this year. Lost to Ole Miss, barely beat, Arkansas, so Alabama hasn't been great away from Alabama. And I know they blew out Texas A&M. Tennessee, I think at home, will hang in the game. I think it's more of a defensive game that keeps Tennessee hanging around. Now, do I think they can win? No. I think Alabama will find a way to win. I think this game is going to be closer than most people think. I think it's going to be low scoring. That will favor Tennessee. Now, if this becomes a shootout, forget it. Tennessee has no chance. They don't have the offense to stay in the game. Low scoring game keeps Tennessee in the game. They cover the 17.5. I like Tennessee plus 17.5 against Alabama and Neyland Stadium. Put Neyland Stadium in Knoxville on your bucket list as well. Great place to watch a game. People come, they don't just drive there. They come with their boats to the game. So a great setting there in Neyland Stadium. Definitely check out that stadium as well. So those are your college football picks for week number 9. Like I said, not a great week in college football. To me, the marquee game is Ole Miss and LSU. That's the game you really want to focus in. Of course, some of these other games you want to keep an eye on to see if these big teams keep on winning, but Ole Miss LSU is the game of the day. Make sure you watch that. The crowd at LSU should be in a frenzy. Okay, you guys are all set. You guys are all caught up tonight. World Series start. The World Series should be tremendous. 2 really good teams, great fan bases, electric crowds. Really, really good stuff. This should be a long World Series, should be a good World Series. The Giants and the Royals start tonight. I will be back with you guys Monday. We'll recap everything in the sports world. We'll recap the NFL, recap the college football. We'll touch on the World Series. You want to do a little hockey, basketball, college basketball. I'll touch on that as well, as well as anything else that comes up in the sports world. So you guys, I will talk to you Monday. You guys enjoy the games. Stay safe. Thanks for the support. Talk to you Monday. Take care.